This is Sig P365 SAS, Junk or Jim, a firearm talk video. As you can see, we are down at the beautiful Banner Range here today. And today we're going to be taking a look at the P365 SAS or Sig anti-snag versus the P365 380. Now, while we have fired both these firearms on camera multiple times in the past, looking at it in context of the P365 versus the P365 380 and the advantages and disadvantages of the 380 version, today we're going to be looking specifically at the Sig anti-snag or SAS version and seeing if we can determine what the advantages and disadvantages of that 365 setup are. And now, let's hit the range. Alright, let's start off with the P365 9mm SAS bottom left target. 9mm will be on the left hand targets, 380 will be on the right hand targets. Here we go. Alright, now we're going to do the 380 on the right, bottom right hand target. I would say definitely a much better group than the 380. Let's redo it. This time we're going to do some double taps. 9mm on the bottom left again. Okay. Now let's do our 380 on the bottom right. Double taps again. Well, I think the 380 shot a pretty good group. Now lately in some of our videos I've said things like at this close a range our groups are so similar that I don't think our results are different enough to tell a difference. Though I think the difference that we see here today has nothing to do with the distance that we're firing at, and I think it doesn't really have anything to do with the difference in the sights. And we're going to come back to why I think these groups are different here once we get some of the numbers on this firearm out the way first. We're going to revisit some of the numbers for our newer viewers. The Sig P365 platform is a micro-compact double-stack striker-fired pistol available in either 9mm Luger or 380 ACP, and we happen to be firing both the 9mm version and the 380 ACP version here today. The Sig P365 SAS is 5.8 inches long, 4.3 inches high, 1 inch wide, and weighs in at 17.8 ounces. It features a 3.1-inch carbon steel barrel. One major difference between the SAS version of the 365 and the others is the SAS version uses the MiPro bullseye sight. This is a very interesting style sight. It does take some getting used to, though I think once you're used to it, it can be a very effective sight out to 15 yards, and for some people maybe out to 25 yards, though beyond that I'm not so sure. Someone better qualify, I don't need to comment. The SAS model has a nigh unusable, at least by hand, extremely low profile slide release, and the takedown lever has been replaced with this takedown screw, and as a result you do need a tool now to disassemble your firearm. So you got that going for you. The anti-snag features of the Sig anti-snag at 365 are designed in many people's opinions such that this firearm could be pocket carried and come out of a pocket with minimal drag. For my build and the style of clothing that I wear, this firearm is too big for me to really pocket carry, so I think the anti-snag features don't really come into play for me. Though I did buy this firearm specifically to test out that bullseye sight, and so far I've been very happy with that bullseye sight. Speaking of which, now if we come back to it, you would have noticed in the first 3 or 4 shots today that I sort of came off my sights and was confirming that I was on the target, and then once I did, I was sort of confident that I was, in sync with my sights. That's just because I have not fired this firearm in a couple of months. It's the nature of testing firearms. Though normally I would not do that, and I would have a much higher degree of confidence in my sights on this one. The other thing I would say is that with normal practice, I do have, as I say, a much higher degree of confidence with these sights. Now, would I shoot the groups as good as what we saw with the 380 there? No, but they would be significantly better and much more competitive had I shot this firearm for the last 6 months 2 to 4 times a week like I do that Sig 380. Moving on. Before we go into some more positives and negatives on this SAS model, let's do a little more range time and do some more drills and see what, our experience continue and build on our experience, we'll say. Okay, this time, after the itchy eyeball, what we're going to do is we're going to do left, right, and to mix things up, we're going to start with the P365 380 instead of the 9mm, and we'll do the 9mm second. And for the 365 380, I'm going to shoot at the middle 2 targets, starting on the left-hand one. It'll be 10 shots, 5 on the left, 5 on the right, alternating left, right, left, right. Here we go. Okay. Might be okay. Now let's repeat our drill here with our, this time, the 9mm P365 SAS. Top 2 targets, starting on the top left-hand target. Go. We'll have to look at those closer. I feel like we have enough hits on paper that we can say the SAS did. Okay. Let's repeat that drill. This time we're going to start with the 9mm. We're going to do right, left though. Starting with the 9mm, and then we'll move to the 380. Here we go. might have 10 on the top right, 8 of 10 on the top left. We'll have to count it when we get closer. Alright, let's repeat now with the 380 again, starting on the right. Right, left, right, left. Here we go. And a failure. And a failure. That's like the first 2 failures ever. Let's see if we can find it. We're going to put it in the left-hand middle target. All right. And a failure. And a failure. That's like the first 2 failures ever. Let's see if we can find it. Now looking at our top 4 targets, the top 2 being our 9mm targets, the middle 2 or the bottom 2 of our top 4 targets being the 380 targets. Moving between the left right or right left of the targets, in my not an expert opinion, I think tells us that with equal practice, our 9mm groups would probably look very similar to what we have with the 380 here. I think the only difference comes down to I've practiced much more with the 380 version of this firearm as of late than I have at all with the 9mm version. And I think here we can see that there's really not much, or I'm going to say not really a significant difference between the groupings, to where I would say that the bullseye sight is not coming into play. Because I've shot with this bullseye sight enough, and now I've done a round with it before this, I'm again familiar with it, to where we can say that at these closer ranges, practice with it, at least for someone like myself, you're capable of shooting the bullseye sight close to, if not as good or better than you might with your traditional iron sights. Again, it's going to be very subjective and down to you. This is just me. Alright, range is probably going to go cold any second. So we're going to just do a practice magazine. We had 2 failures that last time. Somehow during loading, we got a Maraca situation set up. Let's see if that causes a failure this time. Here we go. I'm going to aim at the right-hand middle target. Well, no issues with the Maraca. Good to know. Now here we see our next magazine. Even with the Maraca situation set up on the 380, we had 0 failures. I'm inclined to believe those 2 failures are the combination of, well, budget ammunition. And if I was a reloader, or if I had been the loader on this ammunition and then shot this ammunition being a reloader, I would be like, oh, that was the one where I didn't catch that my die walked out a smidge. Oops. That's the reality of budget ammo. Sometimes you just happen to get a box where there's one with a failure. You know, whatever. It is what it is. I don't blame CCI. I think this ammo is still really good for budget ammunition, especially at the price point it is at compared to everything else. Let's move on. Alright, this time what we're going to do is we're going to do that modified 10-shot drill where we start with a 2-handed grip, move to left-handed, right-hand, left hand. We're going to do this 2 times, one with gloves, one without gloves. It's a little windy, just on the edge of almost being chilly. We'll see if that makes a difference. We'll start with our 365 9mm bottom left target. Here we go. We'll do 3 shots, 2-handed, 3 shots right-handed, 3 shots is left-handed, and finish with our last shot to a 2-handed shot grip again. Here we go. Alright, now we'll do the same thing with our 365 380 on our bottom right hand target. Alright, I feel like the 380 did a little better. 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 out of 10 versus 6 out of 10. Let's redo that. It might be 7 out of 10 on the 381. Let's redo it this time again, starting with our 9mm bottom. We're going to do middle left hand this time for the no gloves test. Alright, now middle right, P365 380 no gloves. Here we go. Okay, and on that time, 9mm probably wins. 2, 3, 4, 6. I don't know, maybe one more hit on the 380 side. 1, 2, they're all at the perimeter, 3 of them. We're going to call that a wash. Okay, now we're going to take a look at, real quick, a accuracy and reliability comparison of this Sig Sauer Elite Performance ammunition. This is a mystery. Okay, 90 grain jacketed hollow point, 380. For comparison, which is what we're going to start with today, is Sierra Outdoor Master 90 grain jacketed hollow point. This is an ammo that we fired quite a few times on the channel and had very good reliability and accuracy with it. So we're going to do a full box of each, 20 shots, starting with the Sierra Outdoor Master top left target. Here we go. Now our Sig ammunition. Here we go. 10 shots, 20 shots top right hand target. Alright, here we go.
I'm going to check my target. That one's open.
Looking at our targets, I'm tempted to say our left-hand target with the Sierra Outdoor Master 90 grain jacketed hollow point ammunition had the better accuracy today, though I think we need to revisit this test here in a dedicated video in the future. Luckily, both ammunition had 100% reliability through the 20 rounds we fired today, which should be expected from premium home defense ammunition. Anyway, let's continue with our tests against the Sig P365 SAS and do our last rounds of tests here today. Alright, we're just about out of our range 380, about 18 rounds left. We're going to do 2 magazines, one left-handed, one right-handed through each firearm this time. The target's middle left for the 9mm. Let's start with that. Here we go. We're going to put our gloves back on. Starting with our right hand. We'll have to review the footage to see how we did. I'm not sure on that one. 380 this time, right middle target. Now looking at our targets for a final time here tonight, while it's easy to say with our one-handed shooting we did much better with the P365 380, putting the majority of our shots on the 8-inch target here today, one thing we should keep in mind is we shot at 8-inch targets today instead of our half-size silhouettes or full-size silhouettes, mostly because we're trying not to piss off the YouTube algorithm any more than we already do. And as a result, well, we're shooting at 8-inch targets here today. I think if we were shooting at even our half-inch silhouette targets like we usually do, even with our SAS 9mm version, all of our shots with our one-handed shooting here in our set would have been on the silhouette. They're just low of our 8-inch target here today, which is why you don't see them on that 8-inch target in the video. If I expanded the garbage mat down to the top half of that bottom target, you would have seen all of our shots here today. That's just the nature of the beast, recording videos and whatnot, and also trying to be accurate in terms of representing the pistols. Now there's no doubt I shoot the 365 380 more accurately, especially at these closer ranges, and as I've said, a lot of that comes down to I've practiced with this 380 version more. But it's more than just that. Because of the mild recoil on the 380 version, I find it much easier to get back on target quickly and even more confidently with the 380 version than I do with the 9mm version. And that's just me. Not everybody will have that experience, though, to be honest. Some people will, and more people will than want to admit it. And that's just the nature of the internet. Alright, let's get to the conclusion of our video here. I think one thing we've seen here today is that, especially with practice, the P365 SAS can be a very capable firearm. Now, is it going to be a target shooter that you go out there and take to the range and shoot at 25 or 50 or 100 yards? For most people, probably not. I think especially when you get out to 15, 25 yards, shooting at smaller targets like your 8-inch target, your 10-inch target, your half-size silhouette, with the target, the MiPro bullseye sight being in line with the frame, your firearm obscures your view of the target, which is why you saw for my first 3 or 4 shots here today where I shot and then sort of peeked up. That was to make sure that I was hitting the target, because I could not, even with it at 7 yards, this 8-inch target, I could not see that target at all with the MiPro bullseye sight over it, with how that is in line with the slide of the firearm. And that's just the nature of the design of the sight for this SAS firearm. Now, for me personally, is it one that I'm going to pocket carry like most people probably are? No. With the nature of my build, the style of clothing that I wear, and how I prefer to carry things, I find this firearm to be just simply too large to pocket carry. However, as I've said, the reason I purchased this firearm was specifically to try out that bullseye sight, and frankly, I really do enjoy that bullseye sight. Now, as I've said, it is one that I think you do need to practice with. It's not one where I can just hand off this P365 off to someone. You know, if we're at like an end time situation, I can just hand it off to a random person. Here, go kill that zombie. They're going to probably get killed by that zombie because they have no idea how the sights on this firearm work. However, if you are practiced with them, I think 15 yards and in, which is probably the intended range of this firearm, you can be every bit as good, if not better, than what you would be with an iron sights. And I think that really comes down to, once you're practiced with the design of this bullseye sight and how it works, you can line up that sight very similar to how, say, a red dot sight works, and get some very precise shots in at closer ranges to where you can see your target still. Now, conversely, one thing I think we have seen here today, and this is why I chose to do the 365-380 instead of a different 365 against this firearm, is with something like the 365, we can see that you can be faster and more accurate at closer ranges than what you can do with the 9mm, at least in my opinion. And in my opinion, a lot of that, or the majority of that, comes down to diminished recoil. The 380 round out of this 365 platform is very mild to shoot. And when you shoot it next to something like the 365 and 9mm, it almost feels like a 22. And there's a few times in this video where you might notice that I almost flinch anticipating recoil shooting the 380, because I anticipate there being more recoil, and what we call recoilization on this channel kicks in, and I anticipate more recoil than is really there. And well, that's just how 380 is. Sometimes it can be so mild compared to other things that it feels like a 22 or even non-existent, and that happens a few times here in this video. Now, that's not to say that the 380 version of this 365 is the most mild firearm ever, because it's not. There's plenty of 22s or even other 380s like the Easy 380 that are even more mild to shoot, but it is one that is extremely easy to shoot, in my opinion, for most of the 380 firearms, and more so than any of the 9mm compact double stack firearms that I have shot thus far. So anyway, in summation, I think what we can say here is that the P365 SAS is a very capable firearm, especially at its intended use case. It's not a target shooter. It's sort of a pocket carry, last holdout, home defense, personal protection firearm that when you don't need to do a long distance shot, but if you do have to engage a target close in, even at night sights type of situation, you can, and when practiced with, you can do it very competently and capably. Now, another thing we've seen here today, and it sort of reinforces an idea that we have done on this channel over and over, is that the 380 platform can be very capable and a very confidence building platform. Well, anyway, I hope you found this video useful. Thanks for watching, and as always, have a good day.